10 hacks we want to share with you, and we'll display them up here as we go along. The first question we already touched on earlier: should I contact 3 manufacturers or 30 to get quotes? Our clear recommendation: in China, we always search for 30 potential manufacturers for our clients, and outside of China, we aim for around 60. Why? It's very simple. If you only reach out to 3 manufacturers, you'll likely get 3 quotes. That leaves you with price A, price B, and price C. Maybe price C, the third one, is the cheapest. Then you go back to A and B and say, look, the third one gave me a lower price. And what do A and B say? The usual. Different quality, different price, different something. In other words, you've got one outlier quote, and against that outlier, you won't get very far with the higher quality manufacturers who charge higher but justified prices. But if you've contacted 30 manufacturers and received maybe 28 or 29 quotes, with 10, 12, 15 or even 20 of them being solid, you'll see a whole range. High prices, low prices, outliers, and then more high and low prices again. Suddenly, you don't just have one lowball offer, but several. And with those in hand, you can negotiate much better with the higher quality, higher priced manufacturers. You can say, no, this isn't just one guy offering this rate. There are 8 others with similar prices. I understand the quality won't be the very best, but I want your quality. And still, there are 13 other manufacturers offering something comparable. If we're going to place this order with you, you'll need to meet us halfway. That's the leverage you need to optimize pricing. A very important note for us with our own brands, but also for you: please don't squeeze your manufacturers dry. Don't exploit them. This should also be fun for them working with your business. After all, you want to reorder hundreds of times in the future. Next question: should you only order from manufacturers you already know? Absolutely not. Yes, by now we have a database of about 30,000 manufacturers we've worked with. But just because we've once collaborated with them or they've made one product for us, remember the earlier example with plastic production, just because a supplier can make small plastic parts doesn't mean they can handle large parts with injection molding. That's why we always go back to the wider pool and look for fresh suppliers for every single product. And that's why we recommend 30 manufacturers in China and about 60 outside of China, since responses from outside China tend to come slower. The point is to cast a wide net and really verify who can deliver. Another critical point: the manufacturer's contact details. If you work with a sourcing agent or sourcing firm, make sure they provide you with the manufacturer's full details so that you can take over communication at any time. You don't want to be locked in where only they can reorder or handle communication. And just as important, you should pay the manufacturer directly, not the sourcing firm. Otherwise, the sourcing firm might simply add a markup, 20, 30, 40, 50% on top. That's why we never recommend paying as a percentage of order volume. A flat fee for product sourcing makes more sense. We've sourced over 2,000 products now, and sometimes it's quick. We found a manufacturer in just 6 hours instead of the 15 to 20 hours you might need in China or 30 to 40 hours in Europe. But sometimes it's the opposite. One client was so committed to a very special product that we had to contact over 500 manufacturers before finding the right one. Now tell me, how does that fit into a fixed price model? If someone charges a flat $600 or $800 fee per product, do you really think they'll contact 500 manufacturers for you? No chance. That's why, in my opinion, fixed pricing is just a way to maximize hourly rates while minimizing actual effort. Another issue: bribery from manufacturers. You want to be sure that if you're working with a sourcing firm or agent, they aren't being incentivized by certain manufacturers to push you in their direction. Your goal is best quality at the best price. not to end up with whoever offers the biggest kickback. The way to avoid this: get full contact details. Don't settle for just 3 or 4 options, get many. And build trust with your sourcing partner. If they're new on the market, dig deeper, ask questions, and make sure you're getting a broad set of offers that haven't been pre-filtered in someone else's interest. And again, don't agree to pay sourcing fees as a percentage of order volume. Imagine you place a $50,000 order and they want 10%. That's $5,000 gone. Our sourcing is nearly always far cheaper than that. And think about it. If later you scale to 500,000 orders, why should they earn disproportionately more for essentially the same work? It makes much more sense to bill for the actual hours spent, not on how large your order is. Quality control is another essential point. Check your samples and check again during mass production to ensure what you receive matches what you approved. In Europe, be prepared for it to take longer. It often takes 2 emails and 3 phone calls to get a quote from a European manufacturer. Lately, with summer slowdowns, holidays, and higher workloads, it's more like 3 emails and 3 phone calls. If you're doing it yourself, don't give up. Keep at it. It's worth it. Also, don't contact manufacturers aimlessly. Don't just blast out emails like shotgun fire and hope something useful comes back. If you do that, and they all respond, you'll be buried under a mountain of offers. Instead, filter from the start so the responses you get are more qualified and you'll save yourself a huge amount of work. And finally, our little undercover hack. When I launched my first brand back in 2015, I had slim wallets manufactured. At the time, I was paying something like $4.80 per piece. 2 years later, I wasn't paying $4.80 anymore. It was $4.60, $4.30, even $4. But then, 2 or 3 years later, if you or we, on your behalf, approach the same supplier as a new customer without mentioning your existing business, suddenly the quote comes back at $2.30 per unit, while you've been paying $4 all along. That's when you need to ask your manufacturer, why are you offering new clients a much lower price than your loyal long-term partner? At that point, you can renegotiate, push for compensation, or even change suppliers. One example, for a $500,000 order from a new client, we managed to save 12%. That's about $60,000. Another case, a client starting with just 1 product is now sourcing 22 more in parallel. Another, in the beauty sector, sells about 500,000 units per year of a single product. We help them reduce costs by $1 per unit, meaning $500,000 saved annually. And another client, after just 8 months of working with us, managed to save 1.4 million euros out of a 25 million euro turnover. That kind of margin improvement makes a huge difference. And with that, let's wrap up with a short video on how we can help you, how to get in touch with us, and how we're happy to share more tips.